So first things first, I want to apologize for not having a proper end of the year video. Had a lot more holiday and family stuff occurring than I originally had planned. So yeah, happy end of 2019 everybody, and here is to the start of 2020. Only a few days late, but we are here. We ended the season, I guess, not the season, the year technically, with our last Dynomax Wi-Fi battle, and we're starting off this year with our first draft analysis for the Galar Defenders League. This is a league that I actually started, which I never really thought I would ever actually do a league, but the main reason I wanted to do the league was because I really wanted a Wi-Fi draft league that started in January to join, and I was like, hey, well, I wasn't like, hey, my friend Nate mentioned let's start a draft league. Then I thought more about it, talked to my boy Aaron, and even he mentioned we should start a draft league. So me and Aaron started the draft league. Nate gave us the idea to start the draft league, so I love you, Nate. My boy Galva Nate, now formerly known as Mewtwo Fan Nate. But yeah guys, this is the Galar Defenders League. If you want to know our roster, check the description down below. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. I hope everybody is excited for the start of this league. If season 1 goes well, then we are definitely looking to do a season 2. And no, there was no live stream, but we will definitely be doing one for season 2 again if season 1 goes well. So show up your support, guys. Check out all the coaches in the description below. Follow Twitter, as I mentioned, because we are going to be tweeting out and trying to be interactive with the fans and whatnot. So yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully y'all are excited. So yeah, boss of YouTube, how's it going everybody? We have our draft analysis for the Durham Druddigons in the Galar Defenders League season number 1. So the way we decided to go about this league was that I know Dynomax and Gmax obviously are pretty crazy things to take into consideration for draft league. Even though they're probably a little bit more manageable in draft league, you still have to have some type of regulation for them, because they can literally just still be absolutely busted and broken, because anything that Gmaxes or Dynomaxes just becomes infinitely better. So the way that we wanted to go about doing Dynomax and Gmax in this league was that we decided to give the tier 5s the only option to Dynomax, and every team can only have one tier 5 that can Dynomax. That doesn't mean they need to have only one tier 5 Pokemon. They can have 3 tier 5 Pokemon, but only one of those 3 is their Dynomax captain, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's how we're gonna go with Dynomaxing through this season. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll change things up if there's a season 2, but we have to see how this current season goes and how that ruling works out for us. So yeah, that's the Dynomax rules. Every team is gonna have 10 Pokemon because we have 12 coaches. I honestly think we still could have done 11 per team, but maybe we'll do that for season 2. So for right now, every team has 10 Pokemon. We were randomly selected in order to draft. Now initially I ended up getting pick number 3, which I was perfectly fine with. I figured at number 3 I could probably get like Aegislash or Mew, which are still really awesome. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Dragapult or Galar, which are like the 2 main ones I really wanted to get. Actually, I have Dragapult in a showdown draft league, and I'm probably going to do a draft analysis for that in a few days. But for right now, we're going to start off with the Galar League here. So yeah, actually something else I forgot to mention too is that draft analysis from the coaches are going to be uploaded over the next few days, because week number 1 starts this upcoming Sunday actually. So Sunday will be our week 1 battle, and then Saturday will be our team builder, and then from there on out, Saturdays will be team builders, Sundays will be battles, and that's how the schedule is going to work. So yeah, draft analysis are going to be uploaded throughout the next few days by the coaches, like 2 a day or so leading up to the start of the season. So yeah, if you go to somebody's channel, they're probably not going to have a draft analysis up yet. But I'm sorry I've rambled on for so long. I've even started with our first pick here. But yeah, I got to switch my 3rd pick to 1st pick, because for some reason Aaron wanted to be 3rd pick, and then he ended up switching his spot with mid tier, and I don't really know why, but I was like, okay, I don't mind being 1st. I mean, 1st to 3rd isn't that crazy, I guess, but I mean, I guess I just rigged everything. So yeah, no, that's I offered in the chat that people can switch draft spots, because that does technically happen sometimes in certain drafts. It's always good to be at the top or at the very bottom, and for some reason Aaron wanted to be dead last instead of 3rd, I guess, after he switched with me, and I got 1st. So I don't know what he was thinking, but check out his draft analysis, I suppose. So I was able to move up to number 1 spot for the drafting, and I was stuck between either getting Dragapult or Galar Darmanitan, and obviously because I already have Dragapult in another draft league, I had to go with the boy, the man, the beast that recently just got the boot from the OU tier, Galar Darmanitan. If you guys have been playing OU at all this gen, you will know just how much of a beast this thing really is. And the crazy thing is that it's pretty much always going to be running these exact 3 moves. Like literally, this is all Galar Darmanitan has to run for it to just be an absolute beast of a Pokemon in any type of draft format. I've kept hearing that Galar Darmanitan is broken in draft. Now, I don't know, you can kind of think of that in 2 ways. Like, it's draft league format, you can tailor make things to check certain threats, so maybe it won't be as broken, or maybe it will be absolutely busted just because Guerrilla Tactics is absolutely insane. Yes, you are forced to lock yourself into one move, but does Galar Darmanitan really care about that? No, it doesn't, because it's still hitting so ridiculously hard. I mean, yes, it's very obvious that this will just about always be either Choice Band or Choice Scarf, but why does it matter? It's gonna be doing so much damage. Base 140 attack is absolutely insane. This thing also has an amazing speed tier in base 95, especially because in Generation 8, with it being just the regular dex for Gen 8, the speed is a lot lower in the metagame. So base 95 speed is actually just amazing. Now in Gen 7, it wouldn't be as good because of all the fast threats, but not in Gen 8 with all the slower threats. So this just makes Galar Darm even better. There's probably going to be matches where I don't even need to run anywhere near max attack and I can just invest into the bulk, because this thing has a base 105 HP stat, which means it can tank a hit here or there. Now obviously Zen mode is kind of cool. Zen mode is actually something I thought it may bring to a matchup or two when I saw the schedule, so who knows, maybe we'll be able to bust out Zen mode Darmanitan, which actually becomes part fire, and its speed goes up to like base 130 something, I think, which is insane, honestly. But yeah, I would cover its coverage moves, which I mean, I guess it does have good coverage moves like Zen Headbutt, Superpower, Earthquake, Stone Edge, but again, I'm probably just going to be running these 3 moves and a filler on Darmanitan and just kind of destroying things. And the cool thing about Darmanitan is that it's one of those Pokemon that can help itself win later in the battle, essentially, because this thing does technically have a Choice Bandit already attached to it. That means that U-turn is always going to be doing at least like 10% damage to anything and everything that it's U-turning out against. Like, it doesn't matter if it's resisted, unless it's 4 times resisted, it's still going to be absolutely chipping things down, not only helping itself, but also helping its teammates that like to have certain things weakened in order to pick up certain 2-hit KOs or 3-hit KOs. And that's where Darmanitan also functions as a team supporter. It's literally just forcing things to constantly take either chip damage, forcing them out for hazard damage, or absolutely smacking them with an Icicle Crash or any type of coverage move, whether you're coming with a Choice Scarf or secondary Choice Band, essentially, if you do slap a Choice Band on this. So yeah, Galar Darm has potential to be broken, is a broken. That is what we will find out this season, and that's what I'm really hoping for, man. I want this thing to put in work. I'm so excited to use this. I'm not gonna lie, this thing has so much potential, and I really hope I can use it properly. So moving on to our second round pick, because I was first pick, I do technically get a wheel pick. So first round ends, we come back up to round 2, and at this point I was kind of settled on wanting to guarantee myself a very solid stealth rocker, and I was like, I have my eyes set on getting Seismitoad round 3. I don't think anybody's gonna take Seismitoad round 1 or round 2. That seems a little bit early, even though Seismitoad is probably one of the best stealth rockers in the metagame right now. But I figured that I don't really know what I want round 2, and I want to try to get whatever is really good left on the board. So there was a few things left. I was originally going to go with Togekiss, I believe, but after a while I was like, I don't know if I really want Togekiss. Trying to make a plan around it seems a little bit annoying, so I'm not going to bother with it. And instead I decided to go with Clefable. Now Clefable is one of those mons that was always good in any type of generation that it was in, and any type of draft league metagame that it was in. This thing is a staple. It's always been tier 1, even though it did unfortunately lose Unaware currently. Yeah, so Unaware is not released, but it's not that big of an issue. It does suck that it's gone, but it's okay. It's still just an absolutely amazing fairy. Still probably the best fairy type in the Draft League format currently. We know what Clefable does. It's ridiculously fat. It can be Calm Mind. It has cosmic power. It did lose access to Soft Bolt, which is a little bit annoying, but it does still get Moonlight, which is better than nothing. I guess in Sand and in Rain, nobody uses Dale. It is going to be a little bit hindered by the lack of recovery, but that still doesn't change the fact that Clefable is still exactly what I just said. It's bulky, it's offensive, it's an amazing stealth rocker, by the way. It has great support moves like Thunder Wave and Trick to cripple our opponents. So yeah, Clefable was one mon that never really cared about Z moves and Gen 7 because it was still really good in Gen 7. Also, because we allow Momentum, Baton Pass could potentially be brought. Now, we don't allow Stat Pass, but we can Baton Pass for Momentum or pass substitutes. So as long as no boosts are being passed, then Clefable is essentially a form of Momentum with Baton Pass, which is also very handy for our team. So yeah, I don't have as much to say about this as I did Darmanitan, because again, Clefable is very straightforward on what it does. It's a nuisance, it's a wall, it can be offensive, and it supports teams very, very well. This gave me an amazing stealth rocker immediately, and as I mentioned for round number 3, I had my eyes dead set on getting the boy Seismitoad. This thing has become infinitely better, in my opinion, for Generation 8 Draft League. This is probably a top 5 stealth rocker in my opinion currently in the Gen 8 Draft League metagame, because it has so much in just one mon. It's a water type, it's a ground type, it's an electric immunity, a water immunity, it can get up stealth rocks. It's one of the very, very few Pokemon that still get access to this beauty of a move right here in Toxic, man. Toxic, I did not think I would miss Toxic being gone from so many mons until I started prepping for draft leagues and helping my friends prep for draft leagues. But good lord, dude, the lack of Toxic is so frustrating, and I'm so happy I was able to get one of the few mons that does get access to it with Seismitoad here. Unfortunately, Toad did lose Knockoff, which is another really good support move, but I guess it's not that big of an issue. It did get Power Whip, which I guess is kind of cool. I don't really know if I'll ever be bringing Power Whip, but there is a chance that maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm not sure. But Seismitoad is one of those stealth rockers that will just about always 100% guarantee getting up stealth rocks. The only reason it won't get up stealth rocks is because you get surprised by like a Grass Knot that's Life 4 boosted or something. Hidden Power Grass is now gone, which in my opinion makes Seismitoad even better as well, because now Pokemon that could only rely on Hidden Power Grass to hit it no longer have that move to hit this with, which means it just makes it even better, dude. Oh, I'm so hyped to use Seismitoad. I really feel like this thing is going to just be absolutely amazing. And along with Clefable, I've already got 2 amazing stealth rockers. I don't even need to worry about another one for a couple more rounds until probably just the very end of the draft at this point. But I do definitely want to get one more stealth rocker. I'm a firm believer you always need at least 3 stealth rockers on your drafts. I don't care if it's 8 Pokemon, 11 Pokemon, 30 Pokemon, you need at least 3. So please, always keep that in mind when you are drafting. Try to get 3 stealth rockers per draft. At this point, I was trying to figure out how I really wanted my draft to go. Unfortunately, every steel type I had my heart set on, or my eye set on, either got drafted or was not what I could properly fit in my team. So for round 4, I was going to try and get a steel type. I think I was going to try and get Caparaja. Unfortunately though, Caparaja ended up going right at the end of round 3 or round 4 if I'm not mistaken, by freaking Aaron, my boy Aaron, the co-founder of the GDL. So Caparaja is gone. Now I don't really know what I want, because the only other steel type around is Steel Volley, and we all know how that could potentially work out. So I figured I can probably just wait for a steel type. Actually no, I think Durulodon was still around, but the issue with Durulodon is that because it's part dragon, it doesn't really give me the proper resist that I want a steel type to give me. It makes me neutral to those resists, but in that essence it makes it worse for my draft. So yeah, I was just gonna wait another round to get something else, and I figured that I really want to get a good Volt Switch Mon to be paired up with Darmanitan, because that way we can start forming a little Volt turn core. Ground types being gone is amazing, because Darmanitan can smack those ground types with ice moves, and then an electric type can deal with bulky waters that Darmanitan doesn't want to deal with. And I found the absolutely perfect electric type in my opinion. And the funny thing is that this is a mon I would have never drafted ever in 7th gen, just because I always liked my electric types to be immune to electric Pokemon. But because things like Tapu Koko aren't around, then I don't really have to worry about that anymore. And I decided to go with Heliolisk, which I know is kind of crazy. I've never ever drafted Heliolisk. As I said, it's been a mon I've just completely overlooked every single time because of the fact it's not immune to electric moves. But in this generation, again, with Tapu Koko being gone, that's no longer a problem, and that in my eyes makes this thing even, I wouldn't say it makes it better, but now it makes it something that I would want to potentially pick up again. This also gives me a good speed tier in base 109, and it hits ridiculously hard with the same base power in special attack 109. This thing is going to be able to volt switch. It can go for hyper voices. It gets access to surf, so it can hit opposing ground types. Because hidden power is gone, so many electric Pokemon lost hidden power ice in order to be able to hit ground types, but Heliolisk is still able to keep surf and grass knot, as well as having access to glare. Glare is an amazing support move. Now obviously Heliolisk is not a support Pokemon, but Glare is still something that can be run in certain scenarios, which can come in very, very handy. It also gets access to regular U-turn if I really am bothered by my opponent having a certain ground type that I think I won't be able to break through. And yeah, besides that, this in my opinion pairs up amazingly well with Darmanitan. This can get rid of bulky waters. It's immune to water moves because of dry skin, which is also really, really good. And once the bulky water is gone, in comes Darmanitan. I click Icicle Crash and things will die. If my opponent loses their ground type, in comes Heliolisk and things will die. So yeah, Heliolisk in my opinion pairs up really, really well with Galar Darmanitan. They are weak to fighting, I suppose, but we can always cover that with other Pokemon. And then we still have Clefable on our team to deal with fighting moves as well. So moving on to our next pick here. As I mentioned, I really did not know what steel type I would get, and ultimately I bit the bullet like I did in WBE, where in WBE my fairy type was Silvo Lee. Well, this time around, guys, we have Silvo Lee Steel, or Steel Volley as I'll probably be referencing it to as. Now this does not mean Steel Volley. See, this does not mean that Silvo Lee only always needs to be a steel type. No, this means that I will most likely just have Silvo Lee as a steel type. I also mentioned this in my WBE draft. I don't really care if my opponents know I'm gonna bring Silvo Lee. It's fine. You prep for it. I don't care. It's gonna come regardless because I don't have a steel type, and again, steel type gave me the certain resistances that I needed. So yeah, I can still use any type of Silvo Lee. I can use bug, fire, dark, whatever, but I'm just saying most likely it'll be steel, and it's okay if my opponents know that, because I don't really expect Silvo Lee to be one of those mons that always puts in work. I don't expect it to be something that is gonna end up sweeping. I need this thing to do just a certain few things: pivot, spread status, and just be a nuisance in general. Parting Shot is also absolutely amazing because this gives us another form of momentum while also weakening opposing threats for my Heliolisk to come in, Darmanitan potentially to come in as well, and it also helps Clefable be able to set up in itself if I do bring a Calm Mindset, which is also really good. It gets access to Thunder Wave, which along with Glare, Galar Darmanitan absolutely loves Thunder Wave support because it's able to stop certain Scarfers. I still get access to U-turn if I'm worried about clear body Pokemon. Also, Silvo Lee did get a bit of a buff this gen with multi-attack going from base 90 to base 120, which now I know some of you are thinking, well, from base 90 to base 120 is really not that big of a difference, Leo. No, trust me. I thought the absolute same thing, and then I started using this thing on the ladder, and oh my lord, that buff from 9 is actually really, really noticeable. So I'm hoping that I will be able to get this to put in a little bit of work. I did say I don't expect it to sweep, but maybe I can bring it so I can pick up a KO2 with Swords Dance, because along with Swords Dance at +2, this is definitely going to be doing some ridiculous amount of damage. Even though most of its coverage is kind of especially offensive, it still has a good amount of physically offensive moves. Base 95 stats across the board, while not amazing, is not bad either. It would be nice if we could have leftovers with our steel typing, but that's neither here nor there. We do have wish support from Clefable, I suppose, so we'll be able to use that if it really comes down to it. But as I said, I don't expect Silvo Lee or Silvo Lee in general to be sweeping. I need this to pivot, be a nuisance, lower things attack, lower things speed, get some chip, get me momentum, get out of there, and yeah, just basically be a team player. Losing defog does kind of suck because I still need removal. I have no removal at this point, and we're almost well, no, we are halfway through our draft, so I need removal. I still need certain typings, and I still need another stealth walker, all in 5 more mons. So I was looking at the draft board, and my eyes were drawn towards one specific Pokemon, one mon that I honestly thought at this point would be gone, because in theory this mon seems so much better in Gen 8 draft than Gen 7 draft, and it's definitely something in Gen 7 drafts that I absolutely enjoyed using when I did have it. So for our round 6 pick here, I decided to go with Noever. Well, the main reason I was surprised that Noever was still around here in round 6 is because, again, with this metagame being so slow, base 123 speed is, I think, like a top 5 speed tier in the metagame, which means that this thing essentially is going to force choice scarfers, or it's going to force my opponents to prep differently around it than they would the rest of my team, if that kind of makes sense, just solely because of its speed. There is going to be a lot of matchups where Noever can just run a modest nature, which, even though it is base 97, it's still going to be doing some ridiculous amount of damage. It has pretty good bulk, base 85 HP with base 80 defenses, means that Noever can take a few hits pretty well. Plus, the addition of heavy duty boots is also really good, because Noever now doesn't even need to worry about taking 25% from stealth rocks. More importantly, this gave me a defog user, which is amazing. Now, even though I may not bring defog every single week on Noever, it's still something that my opponents are going to need to take into consideration when it comes to prepping. And because of heavy duty boots, I really feel like Noever is going to be one of the best defoggers in the Gen 8 metagame. It still gets access to Roost, which is amazing. This also still has U-turn, which gives us another form of momentum. At this point, 5 of our 6 mons have momentum. Heliolisk and Galar Darmanitan always love coming in for free, and we are definitely going to be building towards that. Even Tailwind is something that can come in very handy. If I have like Choice Banded Galar Darm, I can bring in Noever, get up a Tailwind, get KO'd, then I have Banded Darmanitan in Tailwind to absolutely murder things. Its coverage is still really good, even though most of the time I'll probably just be running a dual stab with Flamethrower that still is able to hit so many things. It also gets access to Boom Burst, which is kind of cool because with Throat Spray, this is going to give Noever a +1 in its special attack after I click Boom Burst. And it also got a really cool new move in the form of Dragon Dance. Now, Dragon Dance is maybe not going to be the most viable thing on Noever, but it could still be cool, or something that I may bring to a matchup or two. I'm really hoping to use Throat Spray too, because again, like Boom Burst instantly giving you a +1, this thing already being so ridiculously fast, like Noever has so much potential as well, and I really feel like it's just gotten way better in Gen 8 draft than Gen 7 draft. So yeah, really hoping that this puts in work along with Darmanitan and Heliolisk. Honestly, like those 3 are the main 3 I'm hoping will do well. So actually no, well, those 3 currently are the ones I'm hoping will do well. So moving on to our next pick here. At this point for round number 7, I think I pretty much had my last 4 team members planned out. I essentially eyed everybody's turn draft and kind of tried to see if I could guarantee getting a certain mon before or later, and I feel like prioritizing this mon was really needed just because it gave me so much in one mon that I really wanted to have, that if I passed up, then it would just mess up my draft plan entirely. So for round number 7, I decided to get a mon that in Gen 7 I would never in my life get, and I would rather watch a Verlisify video than ever get this mon, and that is going to be Claydol. Yeah, I know, I'm surprised as well, but the main reason I wanted to even give Claydol a chance was because of the rapid spin buff. This now gives you a +1 in your speed, which I know is not essentially that much of a boost just because Claydol does have a base 75 speed, but it also now gets Nasty Plot. Now, the main reason why Nasty Plot is so important in my opinion is because this means that Claydol doesn't need to be such a passive rocker. This thing can now definitely function as an offensive threat because essentially it does now have access to a double dance set. It can boost its speed with rapid spin by +1, then double its special attack with Nasty Plot. Even though it is only base 70 at +2 is still going to be doing some pretty good damage. This is also another really reliable stealth rocker to go along with Clefable and Seismitoad in my opinion. While yes, it does have quite a few weaknesses because of its typing, it's still pretty bulky. It's still going to be able to take certain hits, and with the rapid spin buff and Nasty Plot option, this is definitely something I can run offensively if it looks like a good offensive mon in a certain matchup, or I can just run Nasty Plot to ensure that I'm not used as setup fodder, so I can be an opposing threat to something that thinks is going to be able to set up on me. Plus, for those of you who may not be aware, Teleport now functions essentially like Baton Pass, except that it always goes last. So with the theme of our team, we have more momentum now with Claydol. So yeah, this can get a Brox, this can Baton Pass, this could essentially be an offensive threat. It also gets access to Cosmic Power along with Body Press, which is actually kind of cool because Body Press is power output is determined by your defenses. So yeah, Claydol definitely can put in a lot of work in theory, so I'm hoping that this thing will do some work as well. So moving on to our next pick here. At this point, I was looking through tier 5 and I figured that there's not really anything in tier 5 that I really want, except for maybe like 2 Pokemon. Unfortunately, because I had my eyes so set on this mon, I kind of overlooked another dark type in tier 4 that I kind of wish I had got instead of this tier 5, because it was like the only good, quote unquote, good tier 5 that was a dark type in that tier, and I decided to get Thievul. I really wish I had got Pangoro. I really wanted Pangoro, but unfortunately I overlooked it, and by the time round 7 had ended, I think Pangoro did end up getting picked, and I was like, why did I just overlook Pangoro? But I mean, it is what it is, because this is our tier 5, and I mean, I guess we can still technically get another tier 5, but I really don't want to get another tier 5. So more than likely, Thievul here is going to be our Dynomax captain, which I know might seem a little bit odd, just because offensively, like, its stats aren't that crazy. It does have a really cool ability though in Unburden. But the nice thing about Thievul being Dynomax is that because of Dynomax Dark, and shouts out to my boy Zazo for actually pointing this out to me. Because of Dynomax Dark, this is always going to be able to lower the special defense of any Pokemon that I'm hitting with my Dynomax Dark move, because Dynomax Dark always lowers the defense, or the special defense of that mon by 1. So essentially I'm going to be getting off a neutral hit and then getting off a +1 hit, which is going to be always doing even more damage the more that I'm lowering my opponent's SPDEF. So this is able to ensure that anything that switches in is going to be taking a good chunk of damage, with HP doubling as well. This also gives it a decent bit of bulk. Yeah, it's only base 58 defense, but it's still going to be double HP, which means it's going to be able to take hits for sure. Its special coverage is kind of limited, but it does get access to Psychic, which sets up Psychic Terrain, which means I can do really good damage to fighting types, I suppose. And it does get access to Grass Knot, which gives us grassy terrain, as well as kind of passive recovery if we really want to go down that route. It also gets access to Parting Shot, which I guess it is kind of weird that I did draft 2 Parting Shot mons, but I actually really like this because with double Parting Shot can help Silvo Lee set up, but Parting Shot from Silvo Lee can help Thievul set up. So that also helps the rest of our team that can have potential setting up to set up, or it just makes our offensive threats come in a lot more safely and not need to worry about taking as much damage from an opposing offensive hit. So it is a little bit odd to have double Parting Shot, but in theory it does kind of make sense if you guys follow what I'm saying. And then it also gets access to Knockoff. While yeah, it's base 58 attack, Knockoff is just mainly there as a support move to get rid of items, which in my opinion is still really handy, honestly. So yeah, Thievul, I don't really know if it can do too much, honestly, but I'm hoping it can put in work because it is our Dynomax captain more than likely. So we'll just see how things go, but I'm excited to use this regardless. This thing is really, really awesome in my opinion, so we'll see just how well it does. And moving on to our second to last mon, this is much longer than I had already expected it to be. I apologize. I try to keep this under 30 minutes, but I've been rambling because I'm so excited to use this team and I'm so excited for this league. At this point, second to last mon, you guys know that I'm a huge advocate of always having a grounded poison. I think there's only been like maybe 1 or 2 times that I didn't have a grounded poison, and actually, one of those times I ended up winning the league, so maybe I should have passed up on a grounded poison type. But no, I'm a huge fan of always having a grounded poison type, and because I needed another tier 5, I decided to pick up, in my opinion, one of the best lower tier spikers and poison types in general, and that is going to be my boy Randy HLD. No, I'm sorry, a Garbo Derp here. Garbo Derp for tier 4, and what it does is so amazing. It's able to always be a good team supporter with spikes, T-spikes. It has a great ability and aftermath. Even weak armor is kind of cool if you think about it, because it can function as an offensive mon. It's got a base 95 physical attack, which is actually kind of crazy if you think about it, because this thing is still able to do some pretty good damage with its physically offensive moves. Because of moves like Haze and Clear Smog, this thing will not typically be used as setup fodder unless my opponent does carry taunt. It gets access to curse, which is kind of cool, so we can definitely run this as a curse set potentially. But honestly, outside of getting up spikes and maybe pivoting around just to weaken things, I don't expect it to be offensive most times, but the option is still kind of nice to have there. So yeah, Garbo Derp wanted a ground type, no, wanted a poison type that touched the ground, wanted spikes. We got spikes along with T-spikes, a great pivot mon to help our offense, as well as being able to be a potential setup threat. So yeah, Garbo Derp, really, really cool mon. Again, one of my absolutely favorite lower tier picks for draft leagues. And at this point, the draft has come to the very final Pokemon, the final pick to end it off, and I realized that I could either get a tier 4 or a tier 5, and I absolutely needed a grass type at this. Well, I guess I didn't really need, quote unquote, a grass type, but I wanted a grass type. And I had originally ended up picking Leafeon, which Leafeon was tier 5, but the way that the matchups looked, like, I looked at everybody else's teams, and honestly, I never ever really saw myself bringing Leafeon. Like, yeah, Swords Dance plus Sunny Day is kind of cool because it gives Leafeon a potential setup option. It does get access to Baton Pass for even more momentum, but I think we have enough momentum as it is. So I decided to go ahead and swap out Leafeon, and instead I decided to get Gorgeist. Now, one big thing I overlooked about Gorgeist is that it loses synthesis in Gen 8. I had no idea when I swapped to Gorgeist that it lost synthesis. A part of me was a little bit upset about it. A part of me is kind of okay with it because still technically I can see how good Gorgeist is going to be in my schedule. So there might be chances that I don't even need to really rely on synthesis because it still get access to Leech Seed. I can just run Leech Seed Protect with leftovers. That's still gaining back a good amount of recovery. It got access to 2 cool new moves this gen, and Nasty Plot and Moonblast. Yes, it has base 58 special attack, but with a Nasty Plot boost, you're not going to be expecting Gorgeist to sweep. You're just going to need that boost to try and weaken opposing mons and just get off as much damage as possible. But even if I'm not going to be running Nasty Plot, it still gets access to a lot of great moves, and Destiny Bond, Disable, Trick Room, Will-O-Wisp. Oh no, I lost. I was about to say Toxic, but I lost Toxic. But yeah, it's got a lot of great support moves. It can still function as a really good pivot mon. Plus, we can have any form of Gorgeist, which all forms of Gorgeist in themselves can do totally different things. Plus, along with Noever, and if you guys remember our P4G championship run, we got our Frisk core back together. I made an entire video on why I thought Frisk was so amazing in Draft League format, and now we have Noever plus Gorgeist, the Frisk duo, back together to search our opponent's team and touch them, and we can find out what's going on with what items they are running. So yeah guys, that is going to be our draft for the Galar Defenders League in Season 1. Let me know if you're excited for this. Let me know what you think about our draft. Week 1 team builders go up on the 11th. This Saturday. Week 1 battles go up on the 12th this Sunday. So if you watch this whole thing, I love you. Sorry it was so long. I'm excited. Check out our roster. Check out the Twitter. Check out the other draft analysis for our awesome roster this first season. And with that being said, I will see you all later this week, most definitely, with draft power rankings, post-draft power rankings. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, and I will see you all later. So later, everybody.
Because my brain and heart are both tied in the knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears of hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears, and hope.